The offseason is underway, and aside from the plethora of trades, we've been treated with a couple days in free agency. This video, I'll go rapid fire and express my thoughts on some of the deals being made and how the landscape of the NBA shifts with them. Who's falling in the ranking, who's raising in the ranking, who's becoming a contender, who are the biggest winners and losers of free agency. Let's start. The first signing, CP3 to the Spurs. This is a match made in heaven for both sides. Now, it's pretty obvious that CP3 is on his way out and Wemby is beginning to emerge as a superstar, meaning the timeline isn't exactly aligned, but the Spurs bringing in a guy like Chris Paul does a couple of things for Wemby in them. One, it instantly gives Wemby a point guard. Not only that, but one of the most intelligent players in the league. That instantly increases his ceiling and makes the Spurs better next year. We all know how desperately the Spurs needed that last year. Two, it provides a young team with a veteran presence and a leader in the locker room. And along that, it gives a guy like Bob Carrington, someone who they hope to keep for the future, a guy to learn from and build off of. I have no qualms about this signing. It was a no-brainer since the Warriors released him. I can actually see the Spurs being a top 7 or 6 seed solely because of CP3, but I want to switch gears to the Warriors who released him. Baffling decision. It isn't baffling just because they released him, that's whatever, but it was more so because they rejected a trade centered around CP3 and Wiggins for Zach LaVine. What? You need a second star, you need a guy next to Curry, Klay is gone, and you whiffed on PG. What are they doing? I mean, you're already planning on getting rid of CP3, so it's basically just an Andrew Wiggins for Zach LaVine swap. Now, it's not that cut and dry, obviously. LaVine is injury prone and he has a monster contract, so it'd be risky, but you don't have a lot of options here. With Klay gone, you're basically running a two-man show centered around Draymond and Curry, which will end super poorly. It'd definitely be a risky move, but you're not even giving up that much. I guess I can see the reason for passing on him, but it's just stupid. Passing up on a move like that is way too timid for a team staring down at an implosion like the Warriors are. Sidebar over now, CP3 just escaped that mess, and I think he could live out his twilight years crafting the foundation for the Spurs. Great for both sides. Next, the Paul George signing. The 76ers were in a desperate situation. I already got a video that broke down the constant stretch of playoff failures and disappointments that they incurred, and this year was no different, as they were first round exit to the Knicks. And of course, after facing another stagnant season, they had to do something big. Getting Paul George is cool. Like, of course, yeah, it's a big move. They're in position to beef up their team. It's all good now. But the talent was never really the issue in the long line of playoff failures by the 76ers. And the question marks that pop up during that time: will Embiid stay healthy? Heck, if he does, will he play well? And adding PG-13, a semi-injury prone older playoff chopper, I mean, we're set up for some pretty bad meltdowns. Now, I'm not hating on this deal at all. I think they could easily be contenders next year, but Paul George doesn't eliminate the problems they have. I'd argue that he magnifies them.
Where's Paul though?
Next, Klay Thompson to the Mavs. At the end of the Mavs finals run, besides Kyrie Irving shitting the bed in the finals, the thing that really hurt them was the lack of a real third option. Consistently through the postseason, they had to rely on PJ Washington to be the third scorer, which just doesn't really work for them at all, and especially won't against the Celtics. Tim Hardaway Jr. was streaky at best and fresh hot doo-doo at times during the run. Placing him with Klay is 100% a step in the right direction. It's easy to crack jokes at his expense, clowning him for the own 10, and yeah, he's definitely regressed, but honestly still one of the best three-point shooters in the game. Just look at the numbers. He cracks this offense wide open for the Mavs to operate, and he's definitely a guy that can get hot quick. The issue? It just might not be enough. Straight up, they're already not on the Celtics level and got extremely fortunate on their run to the finals, but PG heading to the 76ers, the Thunder grabbing Hartenstein, and the West generally improving, it seems like this doesn't really push the needle for the Mavs, at least for me. Last signing, Hartenstein to the Thunder. Going into the offseason, the Thunder had a couple holes to fill. They were a young and promising team with a plethora of skilled players, and that's what made them so elite. But at the same time, that's what created the holes on their roster. They were pretty one-dimensional and weren't complete enough to really stand on their own two legs as a team. They kicked things off early with the Caruso trade, one that I really like. He's a guy along with Chet and Lou Dort that can enforce this defensive identity. But today, they filled up an even bigger hole at center with Hartenstein. Caruso and Hartenstein are both do-it-all players at their respective positions. He was one of the most valuable bigs for the Knicks in their playoff run and could quite literally do anything you ask. Solid defender, high tier distribution ability for a big man, and absolutely splendid at crashing the boards. Not only did the Thunder need another big, but adding another guy with the gritty, hard-nosed edge along with Caruso quite literally makes them as flawless as can be. The Thunder are contenders, and I could see them pushing the needle to a finals appearance. Now, I will say $29 million for a backup center is a lot. lot, like a lot. It's tough to say how they're going to utilize him, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be the traditional backup big. There's definitely flexibility with Hartenstein added to the rotation, as him and Chet could run a Twin Towers lineup, or he could provide support from the bench, so I get paying him more than a traditional bench piece. Even then, it's done well. The usual concern with 29 mil a year is down the road we have a lot of players that we need to pay. How will we do that? Well, since the contract is front loaded, it frees up some money down the road for guys like Shea, Chet, Lou Dort, and friends. Big piece for the Thunder. As for the Knicks, I don't think this is as big of a loss as fans say. Yeah, Hartenstein was a humongous piece for us, of course, but we already have a guy in Mitchell Robinson who, in my opinion, is arguably better than him. The problem is that he has a scary injury concern. Since coming to the league, he's only had a couple injury-free seasons, and keeping him as our sole center is rolling the dice. The real thing we lose is that not only do we lack a true backup center, if Mitch goes down, like he potentially could, there could be some long stretches of Jericho Sims as our starting center. Having a guy like Hartenstein as a backup center was such a luxury. Unfortunately, we lost it, but it won't matter much if Mitch can stay healthy, which he struggled to do, so the talent at the starting center position is relatively the same. Don't sleep on Mitch.